Hey everybody, this is Perch. Um, I got a bunch of email and, again, struggling through the day right now, but I got a bunch of email around this X-Men 97 reboot cartoon that's going on Disney Plus. And I'm struggling to get emotionally attached to it. Now, I know I'm different from many of you in this regard, and I can explain a little bit why. I don't have the fond memories of the X-Men cartoon that several of you do. I know it's a beloved thing that happened in the 90s. I was older. I had a comic shop then. For me, the X-Men cartoon was something that played on the TV in one of the shops with the sound off so as not to bug the other customers. And I always thought the animation looked pretty poor. It wasn't good. It was, but again, I'm looking at this from 2024 eyes. The animation was probably great back then, but, I just remember the animation was kind of poor. I was really getting into anime at the time, so there was a lot of really good films there. You'd put on like Project Daco and then, have to freak out when accidentally a top came off and then people are in your store. But anyway, I digress. But I don't have that fond memory that a lot of people do for X-Men 97. Which may be why when Disney said they were going to kind of re-release it, relaunch it as part of Disney Plus, what it felt like was a kind of a gift, hey, we know there's some fans out there that are kind of pissy about, other things that we've done, and, maybe this will shut them up. So here's that 90s cartoon you wanted, you 90s bastards. That's not exactly what they were doing, but it's a little bit how it felt. It's like, maybe you'll shut up about Captain Marvel and what we're doing with Kamala Khan if you get your goddamn 97 commercial out. That's a little bit how it felt. And at the time, there was, I remember when they announced it, a bunch of people were like, oh, this is good news. And a bunch of other people were like, oh, it will be woke. And then, it seemed to disappear a while, after that. I think, I don't know. I'm not tracking this carefully. So I'm laying all my biases out. Sometimes I talk about this stuff on the show, and several of you are like, but you're forgetting this and this and this. So I'm telling you all up front, kind of the different pieces that came into this thing. So then a trailer drops for X-Men 97. And what I generally am seeing is happiness. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, this is great. Captured the same feel. A lot of people who are newer to Disney or to the X-Men or these kinds of things like, oh, this cartoon looks pretty good. I don't know. I'm just seeing a lot of kind of what I would say is tepid praise. Not people freaking out, but just kind of like, okay. This seems all right. I think for a lot of people who are looking at the MCU as a whole, who like kind of the early days where new characters being introduced and everything else, the MCU doesn't really feel like that anymore. There are new characters being introduced, but it's got a different style. I mean, the whole thing feels very different now that they're kind of really caught up in trying to figure out the multiverse and what do we do with Kang and all the rest. Somebody said in a video that I'm over-exaggerating the amount of multiverse in Marvel movies. I don't think so. Because whether they're tackling it directly or it's showing up, in Loki, a lot of the shows reference it, even if they don't dive fully into it. It's become a big trope. Yes, even in the Eternals. Some people are like, they didn't mention the Eternals. They did. It just has become this thing there. And the other problem is when you have a shared universe, if you introduce it in a couple places, then those rules apply to everyone. So even if you're in the Hawkeye show and, it's street level and there's no multiverse, do you really care if Kate Bishop dies because there's an infinite amount of Kate Bishops in other places, and we know this because it's a shared universe, and, Hawkeye's hung out with Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is there. Anyway, regardless. But I think one of the reasons why you had this kind of, mild positive reaction is that is that it just felt like a action superhero show. It felt kind of dumb. In a sense, it just felt like some superheroes are going to show up, and they're going to have costumes, and they're going to do some stuff, and that will be fun. And that's it. And then the complaints came in, and the first one that came in, I felt was probably a joke. But then it dawned on me that people weren't joking, and that was Rogue. And Carrie Girl, who has a channel that you should go check out. Love her channel, love her voice, love her work. She posted this joke up, and it got a lot of traction, but not in the way she thought. She posted stuff like, "What have they done to my girl?" And they had a picture of Rogue's butt from the original 97 cartoon and a still of Rogue's butt from the new one. And the butt in the 90s cartoon was all rounded out and glossy and juicy. Let's say it was, I don't usually describe ass as juicy, but this one, this was, juicy was the word that came to mind. And then the Rogue butt from the reboot cartoon that's coming out from the trailer was just flat and dumpy, and there wasn't any butt to speak of. Now, I'm sure all of you realize this, but if you go back to that 97 cartoon, the original X-Men cartoon, and you look for frames of Rogue, you will find plenty of them where she has no ass, because the animation is, she's running, she's jumping, she's doing different things. There's butt and there's not butt at different times. And my suspicion is, in this new version, we will also get, you'll be able to freeze frame a good, healthy butt from time to time. My suspicion is there. Maybe less, because in the 90s there was more of a desire to draw the women more curvy, and there's definitely a desire not to now. That's the Disney way, and frankly, almost all of animation's way. Somebody I saw posted a comment of like, they were trying to point out that the Despicable Me girls, emphasis children, had been desexualized in the recent trailer, and I'm like, put this guy on a list, please. Anyway, be that as it may. And then this morph thing came in, and I tried to, I saw other people sending me emails. A lot of people were referencing other videos, and I clicked on one, but it seemed to go off in a bunch of random directions, and I could never really gather what was going on. But it sounded like somebody not associated with the show said that Morph was non-binary. And you've heard me do this before on this show. You've heard me give this take before. To me, shapeshifter characters kind of are by nature probably... I mean, non-binary is a term that's used for, made-up nonsense. Sorry, I shouldn't say it that way. You could be whatever you want. You could say whatever you want, but there's a difference between this is my mental projection of myself, and boy, people are going to be pissed at that comment I just made. But here's my point. First of all, I am definitely of camp. Like, whatever you want to do, as long as it's not bothering me, I could really care less. Like as long as it's not illegal or screwing around, do what you got to do. Be who you want to be. If you want to walk around thinking you're a reincarnated vampire, that's that was a lot of people in the 90s, by the way, were into that shit. But anyway, if that's what you think you are, I guess, like, as long as you're not going to commit a crime, lunge for my neck, be obnoxious in the light at, McDonald's, whatever. But to me, non-binary, it's a term today used for somebody's kind of mental belief of themselves. And if we're talking about a fictional shapeshifter character that can literally be anything, and who knows what the natural state of this thing is, a pile of goo, I don't know. That feels like the definition of not non-binary, alien, nothing, like could be whatever, right? I don't know. But regardless, the statement gets made about Morph, and then that triggers a whole, Disney's gone woke, which I don't know why that's a headline at this point. I mean, there's been roughly 20 billion videos about Disney doing something woke, so I'm always... there's an intelligence test here where somebody, posts a shocking reaction. It's like, but is it, though? Is this shit... Really? That's the part that I struggle in all this, is that there's kind of a fool me once, shame on you. Like, if you tune in and you're like, oh my God, the character's been completely changed. That frustrates me. But when you're tuning in on, time number 100 and the characters are changed, are you frustrated? Because if you are, it feels like you're dumb at that point. No offense. Well, I mean, maybe some offense. But at some point, you can't be surprised by this. If you want to be outraged by it, fine, but you're going to have to somehow wrestle with the argument that as a kid in the 90s, you watched the X-Men cartoon and it was pivotal to your childhood and your development, and now they're doing a reboot of the cartoon 30 years later, and it's bad. It feels tough to make that case. You could make it, and a lot of people are, and it's your show, kind of like if you want to believe you're a vampire, it's your business, I guess. But it's tough to me when people are sitting in always like, and a lot of the mails I get on topics like this come in this way. I'll read you one. It says, "Hey, Perch, I'll bet you don't have the balls to talk about the new woke X-Men show." Thanks. But if I didn't have balls, I'd be a shapeshifter, right? I mean, or I could just make them. Anyway, I struggle with the outrage here for two reasons. Number one, like, we've been down this path a lot, and none of this is new or shocking or surprising or different, or it's not all new Marvel now. It's Marvel been this way for a while. And then number two, and I'm just saying a lot of things that probably piss off everybody, but if your stance is you are a man among men, you are an alpha male man, I just think it's tough if you're going to go on a bender about a cartoon from the 90s. I just think that's a hard needle to thread. You could do it. You can do anything, I guess, but why would you want to? I mean, why get involved in that fight? I don't know what the win is. I mean, unless the win is anger YouTube clicks for outrage, but then why are people buying into this? I mean, look, if your point here is that, modern corporations, Disney, etc., are modernizing, quote unquote, air quotes, modernizing, old beloved properties, I guess. Again, I grant for a lot of you, this was a beloved property. It wasn't for me. That doesn't mean I'm dismissing your opinion. It just means you may have an emotional tether to this that I don't. And I acknowledge that. But look, I mean, it's at some point you're like, how is this breaking news? All of these shows are modernizing, air quotes, these characters and these situations in order to do whatever, any number of things. DEI initiatives, they just think it's right. They hired writers on the cheap who don't know any better. People are obsessed with making everything look like, people they know. I mean, you could go down a list. Or hacks. I mean, you could do all of it. But at the end of the day, again, you don't have to watch it. And if you have fond memories of something in the 90s and it's a good cartoon for you and you enjoy it and love it, why sign up for punishment of taking this thing that you loved and watching it just be bastardized into a 2024 version of that? Who wants that? Like, why do you want that? I guess I can understand if you what you really want is, to just get that cartoon going again because you're nostalgic and you want those feels. I understand that. That's cool. Get it. But at the end of the day, if Disney Plus is a platform, and frankly, for so many of you who have cut the cable and canceled Disney Plus for a variety of, reasons, woke-ish reasons, you don't have access to this thing anyway. I think it would be very easy to look at this and go, well, there's another piece of shit. I guess I'll just stop. I guess I just will not subject myself to that shit and I'll find something new. And I guess that's the problem, right? It's to find something new. By the way, I'm not dismissing all this. And I get, again, like I said, for the third time, you may have fond memories of this and it just feels like somebody's spitting on that, grave of something you once loved. And I totally understand that. I do think that you've heard me say it a million times. I got 1,000 videos plus, thousands of videos talking about source material, respect for the source material, continuity. I'm bearing that torch for you guys. I certainly am. But there's a point where you realize the torch is out. It's not lit anymore. It's done. And, you can scream about it, but increasingly, you look like the crazy one, not the company that's screwing things over. And the funny part is, you're usually justified and vindicated. The Marvels movie looked like hot garbage. It performed like hot garbage in the theaters. QED. I mean, it just what better into that story do you need than I thought this movie looked like trash. I think the performers in it, minus the one who plays Miss Marvel, I think they, are rude to fans. Whatever your reasons being for disliking that film, the film failed. The film failed pretty spectacularly. So, what else? I mean, what do you do? And I say this sometimes as an extreme, and people are like, it's not worth saying. But literally, like, what would it take to bury that hatchet? Do all the actors need to come out and go, I'm terribly sorry, we completely failed you, and we were wrong, and we will never make another movie. We are retiring as of today. The director will never be hired again, and we're actually going to burn all the copies of this film. We're just going to replace it with porn. We're gonna, Riley Reid's going to come out. She's still alive, right? Porn stars are dropping like flies. And I keep using some of these names, and then I'm like, oh my God, that person might have killed themselves. Hopefully not. Anyway, what is, I mean, you got the win. The movie failed. What you predicted came true. The Snow White remake, the live action remake, I think never had a hope in hell of making money in the first place, and all the bullshit that surrounded it didn't help. But I mentioned it earlier. I think the problem is finding something new. And I want to believe this. This is the case for me, and at least some of the people I've talked to. It's less about, hey, they're bringing back this cartoon after 30 years, and I'm angry about it. And it's more like I'm turning on the TV, and everything is in this style. Like, where is the cartoon that actually has the feel of the 90s? Because you've heard me mention this time, before as well. We have 600 plus comics being produced every month. We got crowdfunding and other stuff going on. You got graphic novels. We got tons of new material. We have dozens of streaming services, so many that there's a service now to help you manage your streaming services because there's so many streaming services. There's, material just gets vomited out quickly. With AI, in theory, we're just a couple years away for somebody typing into the prompt, give me the most, masculine 1980s cartoon filled with cigarettes, beer, and tits that you can imagine, and it will just spit out a 8-season series for you. Like, with all of this availability for us, why is it so hard to find something new? And I think, so two answers to that. Number one, and this will be a kind of check yourself moment, are we really trying? That's a tough one, and it causes you to stare deep into your soul, but are you really trying to find something new? There is a lot of good manga out there. I understand that's not the comic you grew up with, but if you want a damn good story in some cases with some of those feels, look, if you enjoyed X-Men and Teen Titans in the 80s, My Hero Academia is your hookup. It just is. It's very, very similar. I understand different format. Maybe you don't like the art style. That's fine. I mean, there could be reasons, and those reasons are all justified, by the way you might like something. But when it comes to a lot of this stuff, are you truly looking for something new, or are you caught in a trap? And this is the second question to ask yourself. Being caught in the trap, you need to understand, is to the benefit of the company you dislike. Even though I don't buy into the whole any publicity is good publicity and all that kind of crap, the reality is when you give X-Men 97, the reboot on Disney Plus, a bunch of attention, a bunch of outrage, you push more people to it. It actually makes it, gives it slightly more life. I have this theory that if people had gone a little bit harder on the Marvels movie, the movie would have made more money. But as it stood, apathy was what really took over for that film and tanked it because of so many kind of nonsensical crap that the MCU has put out. But being caught in the trap means Disney has your attention, if not your wallet, one way or another. And two things happen there. One, there's a potential side effect where you do actually drive other people to watch the show, so you help them. Number two, you take valuable, brain power that you got, and hopefully it's valuable, and you put it toward crap that is not going to get better, wasn't good in the first place, isn't going to help you, and instead of finding better content, instead of finding a show you might actually like, it's probably out there. It's probably waiting for you to, to dive in and to enjoy it. But you're distracted because you're pissed off at Disney. That's my theory anyway. Look, again, I'm not you. I don't know what's going on in your life. But at some point, I think, and again, the mail, maybe this is just a relation to the specific emails I got, which were very challenging, which were very like, we've got to call these people out on this. And, but do you? What's the point? No, this isn't a defeatist attitude. One of the biggest sucker arguments that you get from other channels, other reactions, well, the biggest sucker arguments you get is if you don't scream, if you don't rage, if you're not angry about it, then the bad guys win. Then they think you're okay. That is crap. This is the same argument as like 5 people are going to go protest in front of the Capitol about some dumb thing and nobody's going to care. I'm not talking about January 6th, for God's sake. I've dropped a lot of stuff here that gets this video demonetized. That's what's amazing. Look, the idea of give me attention and ideally super chats and money and clicks, and that way we take the fight to the bad guys. That is a myth. There's nothing wrong with watching these videos. There's nothing wrong with giving super chats and all the rest. But understand you're doing so for your own entertainment. And maybe that's the new that a lot of people found. Video commentary. Okay. I still think there's probably just a good cartoon property comic out there waiting for you. But anyway, so in terms of the X-Men, seems stupid, I guess. Again, I suspect that we'll get plenty of shots of a good, healthy rogue ass somewhere in there. You just have to, we'll just get more footage and there will be some good butt. As far as the non-binary morph thing, I mean, for Christ's sake, he's a shapeshifter. What else was he gonna be? I don't know. And what the show didn't call him this. It was just like, who knows? Who knows? I don't know. Anyone can write an article. One of the things I would ask people, please stop sending me articles. When you send me an article, and the article is like written by independent contributor to the Daily Costs, understand that this is not a journalist. This person is not on staff. This person's writing some article that they're using to feed the algorithm. Like this is not a serious person. You can take it as serious as the person who wrote it, which is not serious. But anyway, look, if the show appeals to you, cool. If it doesn't, don't watch it. And that doesn't help the bad guys win. It actually just saves you time, and saving time can be used then to find something you like. But I don't know. Some of the mails have got really, really heated. Like, this is the end of this. I am angrier than I've ever been in my life, and that's where I start to go, guy, a little bit too much. There's a lot of things to be angry about. Fuck, I'm angry about a lot of things right now, but that was a lot. Thanks for listening.